We will start, though, Neil, with the simplest statistic of all, the league table, which shows us that with 10 games to go, we are in for quite the race to the finish.
Well, it looks good, absolutely. And it has been really good this season. We're in the title race. Nowhere near it last season, but we are. 10 games to go. We've got a trophy already, of course, the Carabao Cup. And what a big one that would be, to finish with Jurgen Klopp announcing that he is leaving at the end of the season to win the ultimate. You have to remember as well, this season, since September, we've been in the top 4. Since December, when we beat Fulham at Anfield, we have not been out of the top 2. So we've been right in that title race all season. It's a 3-horse race. City and Arsenal still have got to play each other. I think their fixtures, certainly Arsenal's a little bit tougher, which we'll touch upon a little bit later. But all to play for with 10 games to go. You
said it there that there are 3 teams in the mix at the moment. Do you think there still will be 3 come the last couple of weeks?
As long as it's us, yeah, as long as it's us, we want to be in that position. I think Arsenal's fixtures are a lot tougher. And the fact that they're still in the Champions League, City as well, we have our own in terms of Europa League to compete with, and the Premier League fixtures. So how they handle that, injuries are a big thing. Remember last year, Arsenal were in the mix, Saliba got injured, dipped out a little bit. Maybe a key player might get injured for Arsenal or even City before the end of the season. We've had our fair share.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little later on. But, Michael, just a point between those top 3. But what about if we delve a little deeper? What can we find out about Arsenal, City and Liverpool?
Yeah, so the league table's the main way with that 1 point between the 3 teams, one of the tightest title races we've ever seen. But if we can just look at a little bit further, obviously Liverpool on the fewest defeats, but the most draws, which is the reason they're not quite above Arsenal. Very similar number of different goal scorers. Each of the teams had 15 for Arsenal, top 13 for Man City. So there's only 2 points and only 1 point and 2 different goal scorers difference. Liverpool have had those 12:30 p.m. kickoffs. How many of them do we have to deal? We seemingly have to deal with, which is 5, and one of them was against Man City, so half of Man City's total there. But interesting, the points won from losing positions and then dropped from winning positions. Liverpool come out on best, so the best at coming from behind. And when Liverpool do go ahead, they've been the best at keeping the lead as well.
You touched on it. Neil has mentioned it too. Big problems in terms of injuries this season, and Jurgen Klopp has been forced to go to the well.
Yeah, that's right. If we look at a player analysis and the sort of players each team has used, Liverpool have used the most players, they've started the most players, they've made the most different number of substitutes. Players with 25 or more starts, that's significant. It's 5 for Arsenal, 5 for Man City, it's 1 for Liverpool, and that 1 is, I won't test the guys, but it's Virgil van Dijk is the 1.
We'd have both known the answer, don't you worry about that.
Liverpool have made the most lineup changes, 9 debutants as well, so you can see, and then apps for players aged 21 below. Interestingly, Arsenal are the youngest team, but the fewest for apps to basically youth players, where Liverpool have had the most. So I think that table shows the disruption Liverpool have had because of injuries, because even red cards as well contributing to that. So you can see in that table the disruption Liverpool have had.
Let's split it down then into the 2 main parts of the game, attack and defence, and we'll start with attack.
Yeah, the best place to start, I think, Rob, I agree. So if we look at the attacking numbers for every team, we've highlighted again in green the teams that come out best. It's interesting that Man City don't have a single green number here. Arsenal have scored the most, but the reason for that, you can see their shot conversion rate is the highest. So they're the most clinical. But in terms of open play goals, the number of shots Liverpool have is the highest, and expected goals. So Liverpool are expected to score more goals. And we can actually just look in a little bit more detail in the next table as well on the attacking analysis. So there's not only in terms of the expected goals, but big chances, which is another key one. A lot of people, the old school, they prefer to look at big chances to expected goals. Liverpool have had 84 big chances, which is again the most. Arsenal, I said they were being clinical, they've scored about 12.5 more goals than would have been expected, and that's all been in this recent run where they've been hitting teams for 5 and 6. Liverpool are about on expected 1.5 more, so it's very similar. Arsenal, Liverpool top for penalties, and again, big chance conversion rate. Arsenal have had to be clinical to be the top scorers, whereas Liverpool have had more quantity of chances, is what that tells you.
Can I ask you a question you might not know the answer to?
Yeah,
then?
go on.
If they're 12.5 above their XG, does that tell you that maybe in the final 10 games that might return towards the norm a little bit?
Totally. If I'm speaking, trying not to get the Liverpool bias, with my statistical head on, but with the statistical head on, I would always say that's unsustainable, and especially given before 2024, Arsenal were flat on XG, it was 0. They were performing as expected. And since the turn of the year, they've scored 12 more goals than expected. So statistically, I'm looking at that trend and saying that is impossible to maintain. Impossible. They can't do it. And they would talk about them needing a striker. and all of a sudden they're starting hitting teams for 5 and 6. So yes, I would say, statistically speaking, I hope it comes to be true, they can't keep that up now.
OK, let's go from attack to defence then.
Yeah. So we've seen the attacking numbers. Let's flip it round and look at those defensive numbers. Now, we have to admit, Arsenal are the best here at virtually everything. The most clean sheets, the fewest goals conceded. Liverpool matching them for open play goals conceded. The one metric that Man City are OK on there is the set piece goals conceded, only 2. But shots faced, Arsenal are on the fewest. Expected goals against the fewest. XG per shot that Arsenal face. So in other words, the average quality of the chances Arsenal's face is lowest. So not only are they facing just as few shots as Man City, and quite significantly fewer than Liverpool, to be fair, the shots that they are facing aren't great chances either. So you can see really how those defensive numbers stack up for Arsenal there.
You mentioned, Neil, big injuries, and that was one of the things that saw Arsenal's title challenge fade away last year, the injury to William Saliba. Is his presence the most significant thing there? Is it Declan Rice as a signing that's been big for Arsenal, conceding fewer goals? What do you think?
Well, they changed the goalkeeper, which was a big decision this season for them, with Raya coming in from Brentford on loan. Saliba hasn't missed a Premier League game, and I think he's the best behind Virgil van Dijk as the centre-back in the Premier League. Declan Rice hasn't missed a Premier League game, so if you can have your real core defensive players available all the time, then that certainly is going to make a difference. So I think they've had so few injuries in those areas in particular. I think that really has helped them defensively, and as Michael's just shown there, they have been the best defensively in the Premier League so far with 10 games to go.
Talked about injuries. Liverpool have been without the best goalkeeper in the world for a chunk of the season, but the fella who stepped in for him's done OK as well. Yeah,
which this next table shows. So there's a metric at the top here that you can look at. We saw that Arsenal had scored 12 more goals than we would expect them to score. Liverpool conceded 8.8, so about 9 fewer goals than the quality of chances we'd expect them to concede. Now that's down to mainly Alisson. He's played most of the season, but Kelleher's come in, and we'll look at Kelleher later as well, just to show how well he's done coming in. But again, the greens are then for Arsenal with, in terms of fewest penalties, they've faced fewer than half the big chances Liverpool have faced. That's a bit worrying from a Liverpool perspective, how many more Liverpool face than Arsenal. They don't let you in the box as often, fewest touches in the box and shots inside the box as well. All fewest for Arsenal. So again, no greens for Man City.
You mentioned that there were very few greens for Manchester City when it came to attacking statistics. Does that change when it comes to possession and control of the game?
Yeah. We know how Guardiola teams play by now. He's been there almost as long as Klopp's been at Liverpool. We know. So these are where the greens come in for Man City when we look at the possession-based statistics. So firstly, possession, 65% Man City are top. Arsenal and Liverpool both in the sort of low 60s there. Then we look at passes per game. It goes hand in hand with possession. If you have more passes, you've got more possession, and same for passing accuracy. Liverpool make the most passes long, so Liverpool vary up the passing a bit more. That's not a criticism at all, by the way. It's just a stylistic thing. How many times you see Van Dijk do a long diagonal. And interesting, Man City putting the most crosses. That's probably a symptom of the fact they have more possession, there's more chance to cross, and you've got Erling Haaland in the box to aim for as well. But then we can also look at 10 or more pass open play sequences, so really long sequences of possession where they're having more than 10 passes. And again, Man City coming out on top there.
And I remember towards the end of last season, as Jurgen Klopp tried to build Liverpool 2.0, as he calls, he said, the ticket to this team is counter-pressing. Have Liverpool been counter-pressing well this season?
Well, these stats show you. Again, look at the greens and where Liverpool have the greens. Now, the pressing metrics here are your high turnovers and your press sequences. So high turnover is turning over possession within 40 metres of your opponent's goal. Liverpool have done it most. Press sequences is stopping the opponent having a sequence of more than 3 passes, so really restricting how long a spell of possession they can have against you. Again, Liverpool most. And then the counter-attacking side of it, fast breaks, Liverpool had the most and even scored the most goals on the counter-attack as well. So the pressing and the counter-attack numbers, that's where Liverpool are at the best.